Hello, students. The last chapter what we did was on climatic change. That was the fourth chapter. Now we are going to study about the global climate change, global warming, climate change. All of that is what has become an issue in today's times. We've been reading about it, we've been seeing, we've been watching news, and we have a lot of information regarding this. So we are going to try and understand how does it affect the earth and how things have changed because of the global warming effect. So we are coming to the fifth chapter, that's global climate change. Now, when I begin with this, they have given you a graph asking so that they have asked you to show the difference between the global average climate of the 20th century from 1985 to 215. And there are some related questions given to it. On the left side is the degree in Celsius, the months given, and on the right, towards the right, are the years. Now, what happens is we are going to just understand what is it saying. When you look at the graph, the explanation given down here is we see that the differences in 2015 and above the rest of the given years. This shows that the average temperature of the earth is rising. It's on a rise. This shows that the scientists around the world have collected more than a century's temperature records. These analyses means those past evidences. These analyses all point to a rise of close to 0.8 degrees centigrade in the average surface air temperature over the last century. Now, before we start with this, let's understand what climate is, what global warming is, as in a term. So, climate. Now, when we talk about climate, climate refers to significant long-term changes in the global climate. Global climate, when I talk about global, students, it means as in the world. The global climate is the connected system of sun, earth and oceans, wind, rain and snow, forests, deserts and the savannas. Savannas was already spoken to you all, how the climate, all these climates, the desert climate and the savanna climate, and everything people do. The climate of a place, say New York, can be described as its rainfall, changing temperatures during the year, and snow, so on. Now, when we talk about the global climate, what does this climate mean? It takes into consideration everything, whatever is naturally available or happening in and around us, whether it's the sun, the earth, the oceans, the snow, and all of that, and what people do also with it. So that is, and basically climate refers to the significant long-term changes. When I talk about the changes what have happened, it's like they are studying, climate is studied for over a period of 30 years. Then you come to know a climate of a particular region, students. But the global climate is more than the average of the climates of specific places. Look at the climate system. Now, this is a particular climate system wherein we have the atmosphere, there's the cryosphere, the land which has soil, the vegetation, the different biodiversity. Then we know that our earth is divided into land and water. So the rocks are there, oceans are there, volcanoes are there. All of this comprises of the climate system. Now, when I talk about global, we are studying about global climate change. So here we are going to talk about, let's get some information about global warming. Global warming is the slow increase in the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere. We know that the average temperature is rising by 0.8 degrees Celsius already. What these scientists have studied, which I told you from page 58. Because of an increased, why is it increasing, student? Because of the increased amount of the energy, that is the heat energy which is striking on the earth from the sun and is being trapped in the atmosphere and not radiated out into the space. Now, this particular definition actually sums it up all for this lesson. So you'll need to know this term very well. What is global warming? I repeat, pay attention to this. It is the slow increase in the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere because of an increased amount of heat energy which is coming to the Earth from the sun, but it is getting trapped in the atmosphere and it is not having an outlet. Basically, it's not getting radiated into the space. The Earth's atmosphere has always acted like a greenhouse to capture the sun's heat. Before this global warming thing happened, it was the Earth's atmosphere which acted like a greenhouse to capture the sun's heat, making sure that the earth has enjoyed temperatures that permitted means allowed. The earth has enjoyed temperatures that permitted the emergence means having different life forms as we know them, including humans. So prior to that, what was the function of the earth's atmosphere? Was it acted like a greenhouse to capture the sun's heat, ensuring that the earth has enjoyed temperatures that allowed different life forms to come into existence, including us humans. Now, when we study of this, causes of global warming. Now, what is the causes of global warming when we want to understand that? If you look at the picture, you all will see the causes of global warming is burning of fossil fuels. Now, fossil fuels is basically which are going to be extinct, like coal, deforestation, that is cutting down of trees, livestock is being harmed, thaw out the release of greenhouse gases previously trapped beneath the ice and the tundra. Now, according to scientists and government organizations, this now is become a world issue, as I said. So, according to the government organizations and the well-known scientists, the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere due to greenhouse effect is the major cause of global warming. As we got to know that the Earth's atmosphere is not being allowed now to radiate out into space. So this is causing global warming. These gases, we are especially talking about which gas? Carbon dioxide, which have heat trapping capability. So they trap heat and cause the greenhouse effect, rising global temperatures. So this is how global warming takes place. Some of the main causes of global warming. Now, what are the some main causes of global warming? The greenhouse effect. Again, if you look at the picture, what is it saying? From the sun, if you see, look at the sun where the arrows are going. The incoming solar radiation, the energy which we get from the sun is solar radiation. It actually reaches the surface. From there, it is absorbed by the atmosphere. Then it is taken down, re-radiated to space or reflected back to space. Some of that gets re-radiated back to the surface of the earth. Some of it gets absorbed by the atmosphere and the heat radiated back from the surface. Now, when we talk about greenhouse effect is the phenomena in which the heat and light of sun enters to the earth's atmosphere but cannot go out as they are trapped by greenhouse gases. As a result, temperature rises. So this is the main thing. This is the greenhouse effect. Now, with the greenhouse gases, when we are talking about greenhouse gases, which are those? Normal natural levels. Greenhouse gases mainly comprise of carbon dioxide, as I said, then methane. Now, students, when I talk about methane, basically, what is methane? You'll have heard a lot. Science students know about it, but here when I talk about it, Basically, some information or to throw some light on that is methane is a major component of natural gas. Now, it is mainly extracted from geological deposits for fuel and industrial use. Basically, it is for that, for fuel and industrial use. Now, the methane, if you see, if you all know about it, it's basically the main constitute of gas. It is naturally formed by the decomposition of organic matter. Wetlands, the livestock, and the energy are the main source of methane emissions, where it acts as greenhouse gas. Okay, students, so this is what is methane now. Now, greenhouse gases mainly comprises of carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide containing nitrogen. These gases are lighter than air, so they rise up to the outer limits of the Earth's atmosphere and they settle down over there. They settle up there, making an impenetrable barrier. Nothing can penetrate into it. So it's making an impenetrable barrier that traps heat from escaping out into the space and keeping it within our environment and increasing the temperature. Now, if we talk about agriculture, what does agriculture have to play an important role? If I talk about agriculture in the global climate change scenario, agriculture produces large amount of methane. As I told you, what is methane? And nitrous oxide worldwide as accounted by IPCC. Now there are numerous agricultural sources of greenhouse gases. That is livestock grazing. I told you livestock grazing is rearing of livestock, waste management, and digestive gases, which contribute half of the emissions. So half of these emissions, who holds responsibility for this? The waste management, the digestive gases, and the livestock grazing, which are produced by agriculture. Nitrogen fertilizers, which are used for increasing production. See, there are some fertilizers which are put into the soil for proper yield or production. These basically release this nitrous oxide, which comprise 35% of the agricultural emissions. So nitrous oxide is basically very much responsible for these emissions, almost to 35%. Then when we talk about deforestation, as I told you all in one of the slides, I showed you all deforestation is also one of the biggest reasons. So according to NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, deforestation means cutting down of trees, felling of trees. Deforestation is responsible for nearly 1/4 of the amount of carbon emitted to the atmosphere. Now, through agriculture, students, there was nitrous oxide, which was playing an important role. Over here, carbon dioxide, because of deforestation. The planet cuts and burns nearly 35 million acres of trees each year, including millions of acres of rainforest. You all are seeing, if you all see a documentary on Amazon rainforest, you all will realize what is the condition today of the Amazon rainforest, which is a most important ecosystem, as in a part of an ecosystem. What is the condition of it today? Trees and plants take up the carbon dioxide and provide us pure, clean, breathable oxygen as a free byproduct of the plant life cycle. It's because of the plant life, because plants take in carbon dioxide, we are well aware of it. So they take in this carbon dioxide and they give out pure, clean, breathable oxygen. We take in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. So through deforestation, carbon dioxide plays an important role. Now, the effects of global warming. There are numerous effects of global warming. Some of the effects of global warming across the world are rising sea levels. Now, this is something you all are well aware of, that there are rising sea levels. Why? Due to the rise in temperature. The temperatures are rising because of the greenhouse effect or greenhouse gases and all of that. The glaciers present in polar regions. The glaciers are the moving ice sheets. Okay, they are melting rapidly. As a result, there is sufficient rise in sea level. Now, the latest documentary which has come up on BBC is the Arctic region, and people over there who are staying over there in Inuits, or they are called Eskimos, they are feeling now that there's a threat to their way of life, and they have been seeing, because there are a host of scientists staying over there studying the scene, and that's how they are talking about the rise in sea levels. This term has come across from studying these extreme polar regions where the glaciers are melting rapidly. So, due to rise in temperature, the glaciers present in polar regions are melting rapidly. As a result, there is sufficient rise in sea level. Droughts and floods. We are well aware of when rains are not there. What is the condition? Now, why is that so? Higher temperature, when when the temperatures are high, it leads to faster evaporation of water and leads to drought in one part. We are well aware the most drought-ridden part in Maharashtra is Marathwada and Vidarbha. Okay, there are many farmers' suicide cases, and there are a lot of issues because of drought and heavy rainfall, which cause flooding in other parts of the world. So you're well aware of many floods which have taken place in recent years in our country. So what the scenario is? So experts have estimated that drought conditions might be increasing by 66% in upcoming years. So imagine, students, nitrous oxide 35% due to agriculture, and then you have this drought which can increase in the upcoming years by 66%. So look at the scene and where the world is heading towards. Effects on biodiversity. Now, as I said, the Arctic region, how is it getting? So many animals are getting extinct. So what is the scenario now on biodiversity? Wildlife researchers have noticed some of the strong species migrating to the poles for north and far south to maintain their needed habitat. For example, the red fox, normally an inhabitant of North America, is now seen living in the Arctic. See, when the conditions are not prevailing for these particular animals, they are going to get extinct. There are many animals which are endangered, or they are extinct because of the reason, simple reason, the climate change or the global warming effect. Also, it has been noticed that loss of species and endangerment means um, not to be seen in the near future ever. So they are endangered, they are at risk. Okay. So also it has been noticed that loss of species and endangerment is rising along with the global temperature. Now here, let's look at the heat waves and the effects of global warming. Before I go to that, I would just like to finish the first paragraph, wherein prior to that it said that they've given you a graph and they've asked you all that what are the global greenhouse gas emissions, how much percent do they contribute. Now, the average temperature on the Earth's surface of the Earth depends on a number of factors. Which factors? They include the time of the day, the time of the year, and when the temperatures measurements are being taken. The average temperature of the Earth, when we talk about this, the average temperature of the Earth is 14 degrees centigrade. As given in the earlier graph, this average temperature has increased to 0.8 degrees Celsius. So, prior to what all these scientists have studied, students, the average temperature of the Earth is supposed to be 14 degrees, which has gone up to 0.8 degrees centigrade. The average surface temperature of the Earth is increasing and is likely to increase because of this global warming effect. It has also been found that the impact of gases such as carbon dioxide, methane has been enormous, has been a lot. It has led to increase in the heat holding capacity of the atmosphere, which in turn increases the temperature. This phenomena is called global warming. As I already told you, so before I go to this next, again I read out to you all what is global warming so that you all know it very well, that what exactly does global warming mean. Global warming is the slow increase in the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere because an increased amount of energy, that is heat, striking the Earth from the sun is being trapped in the atmosphere and not radiated out into the space. As it is said in the textbook, it is supposed to be 14 degrees. It has gone up to 0.8. It has gone up by 0.8 degrees centigrade. So these were the causes, the effects, what I'll be reading out to you all: droughts and floods, effects on biodiversity also I read. Now let's understand the effects of global warming. When we talk about the effects of global warming, it may sound like a 0.8 degrees is not such a big number. Yes, when you all are going to go through it or read, you all will realize that it's not such a big number, but the impact of it on humans or the living organisms or the existence of the human inhabitation in the world appears to be phenomenal. Let's look at these effects of global warming. Heat waves. Now, increases in heat holding capacity of the atmosphere increases the temperature, especially during summers. Uh, Given today's situation, if you look at the summers, what kind of season are we going through? It's the summer season, but it at times gets extremely hot. Sometimes it's raining in between, and sometimes it's beyond capacity. So the increase in heat holding capacity of the atmosphere increases the temperature, especially during summers. Summers can become more intense, even more intense. Even more intense means they can become more strong or even deadlier and could bring hot spells. Heat waves. Now, this heat wave, especially in the year 1995 in Chicago and Paris in 2003, led to deaths of hundreds of people. So, this is the effect of heat waves. These heat waves now we have started to feel it in Delhi in particular. The heat waves in certain places of north. This is the effect of global warming, students. Next we come to is heat islands. Now when we talk about heat islands, what is it? Global warming serves as a base from which heat waves become much worse. So after the heat waves, when they become much worse, especially in big cities, as I told you, in Delhi, for example, where the heat island effects comes into play. What happens in this? Urban areas heat up more readily because of paved surfaces. Now, what do you mean by this? Urban areas means the city, town, metropolitan cities, the big cities. They heat up more easily because if you all see, we are in a concrete jungle. There's deforestation, there is illegal construction, there are a whole lot of activities which are going against nature. So what happens is urban areas heat up readily, more readily because of paved surfaces and concrete constructions. Paved surfaces, basically what does that mean? Paved surfaces are covered with those flat surfaces, means covered with flat surfaces, and concrete constructions. Concrete means building and construction. Everywhere you all see today, construction is become a part of the mother earth and the land. How much pressure can the land take? So heat islands, what happens with heat? When is heat island in effect? It serves as a base from which heat waves become much worse. So it's the base for the heat waves, where the heat island effects comes to play. Now, here they've told us about as compared to the field of forest areas. This phenomena may further increase the temperature of the Earth. Now, um, increase in the sea level. When we talk about increase in sea level, that is, they've given a figure 5.2, and they've asked you all to understand this through the graph. The graph shows increase in global sea level from 1880 till present. With continued global warming, sea levels are likely to rise. As seen in the graph, global sea level is around 50 millimeters more than that in 1990s. If you look at this graph, we are talking about, students. Sea levels continue to rise at a rate of how much? 3 millimeters per year since 1990s. This global sea level rise is apparently being caused because of increased melting of ice such as glaciers. Glaciers is floating ice. So now that's melting rapidly, and ice sheets. The higher sea levels may lead to deadlier cyclones. You'll hear now and then, very now and then, as in natural calamities are just happening. There's frequent flooding of coastal areas. Many islands are also at risk of getting submerged. When we talk about submerged, students, submerged meaning it can go under water. It also means of loss of habitat. When we talk about habitat, basically the original place of living, the comfort from where they have just begun their life, for fishes, birds, and plants. In India too. In India also, you are seeing the pattern of climate is changing, the weather is changing. So why the sea levels? Because in India too, the sea levels are changing at different rates along the coast as per the studies carried out by the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services. It projects sea level rise by 9 to 90 centimeter between 1990 to 2100. This may result in saline coastal groundwater. What is saline coastal? Salty coastal groundwater, which is endangered, closer to extinct wetlands, and flooding of cities and coastal communities around Kutch in Gujarat. So these are places particularly in Gujarat, Mumbai, parts of Konkan coast, and southern Kerala. The deltas of the Ganga, Krishna, Godavari, and Mahanadi on the east are threatened too. Then the fourth point, what they are talking about, the fourth effect, or the effect of global warming, is the melting of glaciers at high altitudes. So this can also be a reason why is it melting. Melting of ice is a very natural process. But when glaciers and icebergs melt at an alarming rate, see, their melting is a natural process, but melting at a normal speed is different, and melting rapidly is something like a cause of concern. Evident impacts of global warming are retreating glaciers. Retreating glaciers means receding. They are at the receding level. Studies using satellite. So studies have been done through satellite data from 1989 till today show that the glaciers have been receding. Retreated means receding, going low. Now, if you the satellite images show that the Gangotri Glacier, situated in Uttarkashi district of Garhwal Himalayas, basically is one of the largest in the Himalayas. So over 25 years, this Gangotri Glacier has retreated more than 850 meters, with a recession of 76 meters from 1996 to 1999 alone. So look at the condition from where it has deteriorated. Basically, it's just going towards deterioration. You can notice the change in between the years 1984 and 2018. So that this is there on figure 5.3. This is an indicator. This is an indicator means this is how we get a clue of glacial retreat. This means that there is lesser ice formation each year than its rate of melting. So formation of ice is not happening, but melting is happening rapidly. This receding or retreat is around 22 meters per year. Many scientists regarding receding glaciers as a symptom of global climate change. This is one of the biggest indicators of the global warming effect. There are numerous effects of global warming. We've seen this. Global warming, now what is it? It is basically a generalized term used to describe the incremental rise in the average global temperatures above those temperatures predicted from the patterns of data collected over the past years. The effect of global warming has significant impact on everything from unpredictable weather patterns and cycles to the rapid melting of the polar ice caps, and such global warming is disturbing the natural ecosystem of the earth. Now, this basically sums up uh, global warming and its effects basically. Now, what does this definition? This definition sums up all the effects of global warming, wherein it defines also what is it happening, how is it happening, why is it happening, and what are the future predictions. If the past Over the past years, what data has been collected. So there is unpredictable weather patterns and cycles. Then there is rapid melting of polar ice caps, as I said, and as such, the global warming is disturbing the natural ecosystem of the earth. So in the next class, what we are going to study is, we are going to study the few more effects of global warming.